Hey folks, Brian here with Coastal Patrol Cub. Just wanted to do a short video this morning to talk to you about something kind of neat that I found recently and got my hands on. So this is the August 1942 issue of Air News, the picture magazine of aviation. Sold for 15 cents there in August of 1942, so kind of early war magazine covering aviations with, so of course, a lot of focus on the war stuff here, a lot of interesting articles. But the main reason I bought it is I was researching something online and came across a very interesting picture of an advertisement, and this magazine actually ended up having the full page advertisement on the back. And so I picked it up off eBay. It was like 10 bucks plus shipping. And so I'm going to put this up in a picture on the video, but just to show you here so that you can see it more detailed. But this is an advertisement from Piper Aircraft advertising what they called the Piper Patrol, which was, in their words, here is the ideal plane for use in civil air patrol, recommended by pilots, built by Piper, and especially suited for patrol flying. So they are putting out a dedicated offering specifically aimed at civil air patrol, which is interesting because this is civil air patrol is less than a year old at this point. They've only been doing coastal patrol for a few months at this point, and Mr. Piper is like, hey, I got an idea here. But as it says again here in the ad copy, the new Piper Patrol is an adaptation of the Piper L4A built for the U.S. Army. Now again, the L4 is their military adaptation of the J3 Cub. So it is the same basic airframe with some differences that they incorporate here into the Piper Patrol as well. The big one being you have what they call you have a I don't know if they call it a bird cage, but essentially there's much more glass, the observation deck, so you can see out the rear much better, so much more rearward visibility. And then the rear seat, it has an interesting arrangement. The rear seat, rather than having a fixed seat back, it's just a little canvas sling that the rear pilot can take that sling down, lift his legs up. I don't know how you would do it in flight. I'm not sure that a guy of my size, would be capable of doing this, but essentially be able to pop yourself around and face backwards, and then there was a desk there, and then you'd put the canvas of the seat back then behind you there. So pilot up front would be the primary pilot flying, and the pilot and the person in the back could then operate. If you could mount a radio back there, or again have a desk for making observations. So it is interesting they offered this. I will say, like the normal stock Piper J3 of the time, horsepower was probably a little lacking. It was just offered with the 65 horse motor, which is for coastal patrol duties a little more better, right? It would have been nice to have a higher horsepower motor, but I will have the picture up of the ad. But some of the things that are interesting to me, they offer it, straight from the factory with Civil Air Patrol roundels. The paint scheme shown here does not have the lightning bolt. And that's interesting because, so the Air Force Museum in Dayton, Ohio has a Piper J3, I believe. I'm going to have to go back and double check now, hanging up in Civil Air Patrol markings that also does not have the lightning bolt. And I've always wondered about that, whether that was like that originally, because I also have pictures from back in that day of the Cubs with the lightning bolt. So curious. But anyway, the picture here does not have the lightning bolt, but of course this is being sold to civilians. Civil Air Patrol as an organization did not own or buy any airplanes in World War II. They were all volunteer provided. So I don't know if this ad, if Piper was thinking that Civil Air Patrol would start buying airplanes, or if they were targeting this at people who wanted to do Civil Air Patrol stuff and like, hey, buy this essentially civilian L4. If it's the latter, if it's, hey, any old random civilians buying it, then of course they would have input on how they want the airplane painted within reason, there's a reason so many J3s are yellow with a black stripe. It's because it's one of the few options they even had. But not the only option. Not the only option, depending on the year. There are other J3 Cubs that are properly painted something other than this, depending on the year. There were other options, but here nor there. So yeah, so it's a very interesting advertisement. And some other things that stick out on this picture here. It has the metal bungee covers like my airplane has, which is not standard for a J3 Cub. So it's interesting that it's showing here. It is showing a wind-driven generator mounted up on by the landing gear. Of course, to power the radio would be the primary idea here. But there's a very interesting advertisement, and I hope to learn more about it. And it does also mention that you can request a catalog from Piper that would have this in it. So I'm really wondering if I can get a war era Piper catalog, get my hands on that, and look again at the potential offering here for the Piper Patrol. I don't know if any of these were ever built or delivered. That's the other thing that I'm curious about. I have more research to do. So if anybody out there knows the answer to this, I do have some folks have recommended I reach out to Clyde Smith, the quote-unquote Cub doctor, and he has a lot of factory build records, so he might be able to help me out. I haven't talked to him yet, but that's probably going to be my next stop. Yeah, very interesting. So looking forward to learning more.